All right, welcome everyone to the Solana Community Validator discussion, January 5th, 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. Pretty light agenda today, so validator updates are going to be pretty similar to last time. No new clients have been released since last call. I'm going to talk a little bit about an educational workshop, and then I'm going to hand it over to the Jito team to talk about some background on the Jito client and some setup differences between the Solana Labs client and the Jito client. So they're going to take most of the time. So a reminder for validator updates, same as last meeting, 1.13.5 is recommended for mainnet. There was a call to get 5% of stake on 114.10, which has been pulled. So we have more than 5% on 114.10. I think currently they're waiting for some security audit, basically just to finish off the audit. So I think there's a little bit more work to do before they'll call for more stake or even the entire network to move to 114. So for now, just stay on the version that you're on and wait for further updates. Same thing for testnet. 114.11 is the recommended version for testnet. If you haven't upgraded already, please do. Any questions on either of those updates? Pretty much the same. Okay, cool. I'm gonna kick off the validator educational workshops again for this year. We had a good tight group of people that were coming to the workshops previously before Breakpoint. So I'm hoping to get it going again. The topic is going to be security for the next one, but if there's a topic that you're interested in, or if there's a workshop that you'd like to lead, please get in touch with me. You can either DM me on Discord, or there's a Calendly link in every validator call that you can schedule a time with me and talk about what you want to talk about. But yeah, I'd really love to get more people involved in these workshops, either just proposing a topic or even leading one, ideally. So yeah, that's all the updates I've got. Unless there are any questions about that, I'm going to hand it over to the Jito guys to talk about their client.
Thanks, Tim. I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, let me stop sharing. Oh, there we go.
Sweet. So, yeah, my name is Lucas, or commonly known as Buffalo on Twitter and Discord. CEO and co-founder of Jito. We're building high-performance MEV infrastructure for validators and searchers on Solana. I recognize a few familiar faces on this call. Some people here are running the Jito client, so this shouldn't be anything new. But for the others, it'll be a good learning experience. Yeah, basically, been building Jito Solana since August 2021. I think last time on this call, the team was like 4 or 5 people, and we're currently at 8 people now. We have backgrounds in distributed systems, and then firmware robotics, and then backed by some of the larger players in Solana as well. So I'll kind of just go over a quick product summary. Basically, we built a suite of tools to enable validators to capture MEV revenue efficiently. So there's a lot of kind of arbitrage spam on Solana that I'll get into later. And our client kind of unlocks more efficient capture of MEV and attempts to mitigate some of the transaction spam on the network. The validator client, Jito Solana, is the centerpiece. This is a fork of Solana Labs client, and we have matching versions for every version that Solana Labs produces. So we have a 113.5 Jito tag and a 114.10 Jito tag as well. So yeah, it's kind of a high-level architecture of the way the different systems work. Essentially, there's a block engine that connects searchers and validators together and kind of handles a lot of the simulation and things like that for the validator. So this is kind of like a super high-level overview of what's going on in our block engine. Essentially, where searchers are submitting different trades, they're tipping different amounts to the validators. You can think of these like priority fees, except the validator keeps 100% of them versus 50% of it getting burned. Block engine does a ton of simulation, basically figuring out what's going to pay the most, and then submits those to the validators. Every validator has their own, I guess, backing up. There's been a lot of work that validators have done to try to attract more stake. We're seeing this with validators buying better performance, higher performance hardware, maybe making voting modifications. And I think that MEV will be another way to attract stakers. And one of our big thesis here is MEV should be distributed to stakers. So there's also systems on chain and off chain that we've built that will essentially collect the MEV for a given validator and distribute it to all the stakers as well. Yeah, some of the benefits we can we're expecting roughly 10% increase or even more, with basically no incremental extra costs from your side. The MEV tips are currently low. We kind of have a chicken and egg problem right now where we're trying to drive adoption of the validator client and drive searchers to compete in this system. And that's something that we're currently working on. So we expect that to get better as the client gains more adoption. And I'll answer that question in a bit, Tetsu. So validators customize their MEV commission, basically just like regular commission, and then there's a validator here. You can see this is kind of overview of the MEV rewards on Ethereum after the merge has happened. We're also expecting this is actually something we're seeing. We're seeing validators have getting massive stake inflows. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, but it's a pretty strong differentiator right now since there's such a small number of validators running it. And been talking to a few of these staking websites and validator websites, and they're planning to highlight the Jito enabled validators. Please reach out if you run a staking website, you want to show this as well. All this information is on chain. We can tell you how to parse it. And then we also have APIs to provide that will show you the different parameters around this. And yeah, this is kind of some of the stuff I was alluding to earlier. There's been a lot of on-chain activity recently with Bonk and other DeFi related things. So we're kind of seeing this the blue line here is the percentage of arbitrages that fail. So it's hovering right around 96%. And then, we've seen a massive uptick in the percentage of MEV related transactions as a function of the non-voting transactions. So essentially taking all the transactions, subtracting the voting ones, and figuring out what percentage of them are MEV. And on a daily basis, it's around 30%. And with a 99 or 96% failure rate, that's a huge amount of block space that's being dedicated to arbitrages or failed arbitrages. So this is something that our system is hoping to address. Success for us here would be much lower arbitrage failure rate, and the percentage of block space dedicated to MEV would be much lower, which would result in a better user experience for people that are trying to use the network. And then, yeah, I mean, nothing's free, everything has risk. all software has bugs. And we've been running this client for around 6 months across several of our own validators, and then there's 33 total validators running the client right now. And the client, the relayer, and on-chain programs are open source. We've gotten audits from Halborn and Neodyne. No serious findings in the validator. So we're feeling like pretty confident about that side of things. And then yeah, like most of the modifications that we made, they're really only impacting they're only really running during leader slots. We haven't touched voting behavior. We haven't touched consensus. We have like heartbeats between all of our systems. So if there's a heartbeat issue or something goes down, then your validator will kind of disconnect and cut that code path off. And then like from what we understand, no validators have like switched to our client and then switched back to the normal Solana Labs. And then there's the hardware requirements are the same or potentially even better because it will actually kind of reduce the transaction load on your machine. So yeah, how do you run it? Takes less than 5 minutes to switch. There's no like contracts, pre-authorization, like forms to fill out or anything. Basically, we don't have a build pipeline or software releases, so you have to build the client from source. And then there's a few extra command line arguments, things like what MEV commission do you want? What block engine do you connect to? What relayer do you connect to? Things like that. And we'll host weekly office hours that will pick up next week, and we'll announce that in our Discord. So if you want to like set it up with us on a call, we're happy to do that and just give you kind of peace of mind to walk through any issues. And then yeah, since November, that's when we open sourced it. Seen currently sitting at 8% of network stake running the client. And last time I checked, it's 33 validators switched over. Everstake, Lane, Ben, Chainflow. We run a few validators as well, and then continually talking to like single operators, exchanges, and like some of the validator and staking companies to have them switch over as well. And then yeah, so I think that's all the slides I have today. But I think Brian sent this deck out in the chat. We'll post it on Twitter and in our Discord too. And feel free to check out the docs. Let us know if you have any questions. We're here to help. So going to Zantetsu's question. It's all aspects. Let me just read this real quick. So I guess the point here is like the way that we distribute, or like the way that like MEV is distributed and collected is a little different. I guess you can kind of play with the numbers however you want to get to like the commission rate that you want. And like the MEV distributions support a like an MEV commission in the code, which like the MEV airdrop will look at. And if you want to kind of go outside that, then that's certainly possible.
Just for a quick summary of the question, Zentetsu was asking why MEV is distributed to stakers when the validator could essentially change commissions and sort of accomplish a similar thing.
Yeah.
Just summarizing for the video.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. And the second question that he has is, assuming that Jito MEV is not guaranteed by protocol, but requires some trust by stakers that validators will deliver the correct MEV as promised. Yes, that's correct. So when you, I mentioned some of the extra command line arguments earlier. Essentially, there's some MEV distribution related parameters that are provided, and essentially you can delegate the like airdrop to another signer. So you can run it yourself, or you can delegate it to a third party signer. We run a signer that uploads MEV data, and then we also we have all this data stored in Google Cloud, and our team's working on a dashboard for this right now, so you can actually verify it. So essentially, all the MEV is distributed pro rata to every staker on your validator. And then someone else asked, all block packing logic is on Jito nodes, right? Can you explain that a little more? I guess like we like the normal block packing logic is running in in parallel to our custom block packing code that is also running on the inside the Jito Solana validator. Our block engine does have some like custom block packing or like bundle simulation and bundle merging that we do to kind of figure out how much each bundle is going to pay and send you the most profitable bundles. But like once those bundles hit the validator, all of that, it's called bundle stage. You can look at it. It's pretty similar to banking stage, but it's once the bundles hit that, then it is all running open source code. And then Zentetsu asks, presumably the validator will prioritize the bundle TXs before other TXs at the validator with packing the blocks. So yeah, we've actually been running into an issue with this today, where our bundles are currently sent. They land on validators like mid slot. So running into issues where the bundles are hitting the cost model limit and not executing and being dropped. So that's something that we're like trying to kind of rethink and figure out like a good way to prevent that from happening. And like you can expect that to be like improved in a future release. Someone said Soulblaze sent the bundle stage link. Someone else said I'm worried about centralization. So I guess like centralization from what standpoint? So yeah, I mean, I guess like we're trying to make like MEV extraction more fair to everyone. I think right now it's kind of like a latency spam game and kind of like who do you know game. And that's like something that we're trying to fix to kind of like decentralize MEV.
Do either of you have more specific concerns about centralization? Sentetsu has a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sentetsu, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is just speaking, I haven't given a whole lot of thought to this topic. I'm just naturally a bit of a contrarian, so I always try to think about the things that I could challenge, anybody with. And in this case, I think maybe Demon and I have the same idea, which is that if, there's a single entity that's sort of making some choices about priority of transactions, which is what's happening in your system, you're sort of asking validators to participate to accept your transactions in preference to other transactions. That gives the Jito block engine, wherever it's running, some amount of additional, centralized control over transaction executions, with the possibility of, of censorship of, transactions that wouldn't fit into blocks because the Jito's bundles are getting preferred. That's probably, in my mind, the centralization sort of question.
Yeah. So I guess like on It's a good question. Like from the point of there's a few things that we've done to like decentralize this. One is building this relayer. So essentially when you're connected to a relayer, the packets are hitting the relayer instead of the validator. And the relayer will hold those transactions for a short amount of time, which basically gives the block engine time and searchers time to like solve for these bundles. And after solving for these bundles, it will attempt to send the most profitable bundle. Now, like if we can't we cannot censor things from the relay. We do run a lot of relays ourselves and people are using them, but like we don't want to do that forever and we want people to not trust us and run their own relay. So like from that standpoint, we can't really censor anything. From the point of like building bundles, the thing that we're trying to maximize for is like how much validators get paid. And like we're always like striving to open source more of our code and more of our data. And that's something that we're working on between open sourcing, like how much validators are making and how much stakers are making to like what bundles were sent, and like how much they paid and things like that. So yeah, like I hope that people like keep challenging us on this because like I think it's important to keep it in mind. But it's something that we're like working to improve as like we get more adoption and things get a little smoother running.
Yeah, if I can just, Michael Hubbard here has sort of made some points in chat that I think are directly to what I was saying. And in fact, his most recent comment is the concern. You know, if like this kind of MEV transactions only really make sense if you try to prioritize them first, because otherwise they can get ruined by transactions that occur before them and change the state such that the whatever arbitrage or whatever else being accomplished is no longer valid. So
Yeah.
it's only most effective if it's done early. And if you're selling essentially access, well, not selling, if you're trying to provide extra, means for getting access to early block space, that gives an opportunity for pushing transactions that are not, in that category so far out that they might not even get handled by the validator's normal transaction processing. And that is the concern, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the goal is to be very similar to the fee market that Solana has. Like the normal fee market that is like in effect today will kick out those same transactions. So I think the like impact of it will be very similar. Oh yeah, I guess Michael had another comment here. I guess another concern would be bundles consuming all compute units or block space before non-bundle transactions get included. That is a concern. We have a few limits. Like a bundle can only have 5 transactions right now. And then we limit, I think it's like 10 or 20 bundles per block is like our kind of artificial limit right now. So like as we get more usage in the system and start to see how it performs, then like that's something that we can kind of play with. Along with like the auction time, like when are we actually dispatching these bundles to the validator? These are all tunable like in the validator itself and then also in the block engine. Soulblaze asks, do you happen to have any open source docs available on how to get all the data about validators running the Jito client, like commission, MEV revenue sharing, analytics? We don't have any like good documents right now. It's something that people have been asking a lot about and something that we're working on right now. Zantetsu said, I've been approached in private by 2 or 3 private MEV arbitrage groups, and they always flaked out. Being a complete solution that isn't just vaporware is a big accomplishment. Yeah, I think that's kind of like the thing that we're trying to prevent. Because I think, like, of course, if you're a searcher, like that is like the route that you would go. Try to work out like some private deal, and I think that kind of has the potential to result in more centralization. So like we're just trying to provide this like technology to everyone, whether it's like the block engine, the relayers, searcher APIs, and then also our shred stream product, which provides like fast access to shreds for RPC servers.
Cool. Any other questions for Lucas and Jito?
Feel free to stop by our Discord. I think someone sent it out in the chat. It's discord.gg/Jito. Happy to answer any questions and talk MEV. Final question from someone in the chat. Are there any minimum stake requirement recommendations? There's no minimum stake recommendation. The only requirement to connect to a block engine or a relayer is that you're on the leader schedule. It doesn't really make sense for RPC servers or like random people to connect to them. So we do a check to make sure that you're on the leader schedule.
It's a
Sweet.
comment there from Soulblaze, incentivizing you to run the Jito client because you also get delegation from Jito Soul. So good to know. Yeah, Soulblaze or maybe somebody from Jito. Zentatsu is asking how much from a delegation.
So I think the that's probably be better to talk about that offline, but there's currently I think it's 24 validators in the stake pool and 378,000 soul staked. And it's a naive algorithm that's just distributing everything evenly right now. And that it won't be like that forever, but I don't want to give like too much away on that.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so get in touch with Jito if you're interested in setting up a client. Cool. All right, well, thanks, Lucas. Thanks, Jito. And I'll see you all in 2 weeks at the earlier time.